Hey everyone, this is part 2 of 3 with my interview with Gabe of Washer Dryer Money. Gabe runs a used appliance business in Mississippi, kinda like mine, but we're chatting today about what it's like to run this type of business, and I hope you enjoy this interview today.
Yeah. Do you clean out no matter what, or do you just check?
Check. I don't. We probably clean out about 80% of them anymore, just to prevent callbacks. People have a lot of vent obstructions in their house, and it seems like if we don't fully clean out everything on our end, the incidence of likelihood of a callback kind of goes up more than what I would like. So anymore, we spend a little bit of extra time. But we have lint lizards and different things that we can get down in there and pull a lot of it out to where we're not really taking the machine apart and then going on the inside of the chassis to clean it. We're hitting down in the blower housing from the top, or taking the plate up off the back, because we have to replace a sensor or heating element, so we can get all that done when the machine's being serviced. And if it doesn't need service, then like I said, we're just hitting the blower housing and doing the easy thing, so we're not having to rip it apart and in the unlikely event of missing the door switch, we can put back in or something, just to save ourselves on that.
Yeah, I found the same thing. A lot of my callbacks have nothing to do with me. It's usually on their end. Either their power supply will be 110 and one side of the leg will be dead, or what you're saying, it'll be stopped up and it'll pop a thermal fuse real quick when they get there. But yeah, super common problem. This is not my problem. A lot of times I really hate not doing deliveries. I've been pushing deliveries a whole lot more lately, just because I can get there and double check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a guy that does the deliveries for me. I just pay him whatever he wants on the fees, but he's not very good at double checking yet. I'm having to train him on that to save the callback or document if they're going to have any issues on their end that we can, advise them of before we leave, just so it's, again, not my problem.
Yeah, I did one literally yesterday. That it's an apartment complex, big apartment complex, and got there, hooked up the dryer, noticed right off the bat that I could just hear it clicking on and on, the thermostat switching over, so it was heating up way too quickly. So I immediately looked, walked outside, and zero. There was no airflow, 100% completely stopped up, but not on her side. I could reach as far as I could not feel lint in it. And like an idiot, I was like, oh, I had a ladder. I'll lean the ladder over here. All the vents are one floor up, and I'll reach in there and see if it's right there. I open it up, and there's a wasp nest in it. So like I stuck my head right on top of a wasp nest. It's one of those. Yeah, it serves me right for trying to go above and beyond. But and I don't do anything usually past that. I'll just have the apartment complex. I'll tell them up front what the problem is. I do not. I've learned my lesson on customers. I will unplug the machine, undo the vent, and tell them to call me back, and I'll check that they got it fixed, because it's such a fire hazard and just also just trouble for me. They'll stick it right back on there after I leave, turn it on, and just do one more load, and not understand like that there's no airflow. You can't do one more load. You can't do any more loads. So it's best to leave it all unhooked and come back. At least in my area. I know you probably deliver a lot further than I do.
We'll deliver as long as they're willing to pay for it, but then I have a cutoff on the warranty too, because I don't want to deliver 30 miles away and then there's a problem, and I don't want to have to spend all that time going to fix it. We tell them straight out that if it's past 10 miles from our shop, that they have to bring it back to us. And depending on the situation, they're either paying for that return, or we're taking care of it. And usually they understand what's going on, and generally they pick it up if they're super far away. That way it forces them to bring it back to us.
Yeah, we're very similar. Mine's 20 miles away. They have to bring back, and I won't deliver past 20 miles. But same thing, if there's an issue, bring it back to me and we'll try it out in my shop. And I'm not going to drive 20 miles there and 20 miles back and just shoot myself in the foot for the day.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Lesson hard to learn too. I used to drive all over the place. And then most of the time you get out there, it's just what we were talking about before. It's not actually our fault. It will be the customer's house's fault. It'll be power will be wrong, or it'll be stopped up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But let's see. Let me go down the list. We'll do questions. All right. If you were to be able to go back in time and give yourself advice for 5 minutes on your business, whether it be advice on how to get started faster or mistakes to avoid, what would that advice be?
Probably not trust people when they tell me that they're doing a trade-in or scrapping and say, oh, it's in good working condition. Because I found that my concept of a good working appliance is not their concept. So not being as trusting to where you put that thing in your shop, like, I don't know if you have this problem with washers. Someone says, oh, hey, this washer's great and working. And you go put it in to start testing, and all of a sudden it starts leaking on your floor and everything gets wet. And, I've trusted, I think, people more than I should have about that sort of thing. So that's one thing I think I would do differently. Another thing would be to be more organized with stuff. I actually think I'd watched a video or two of yours with how your room was set up, and I thought, man, why am I not doing that? Why am I not having peg hooks everywhere? And I have the shelving, but I don't have all the peg hooks, so I'm like, screw it, I'm going to go buy on Amazon like 100 peg hooks, and we started, peg hooking everything in our shop. And now it's easier to get everything organized and assembled because, you're having to grab a lot of different tools and a lot of different components. And I have staff to where I have other people working on things, and, we're constantly moving hands on, tools and stuff. And if we don't have that organized with the parts, we lose a lot of time. And again, time is money. So if you have everything organized really well, you can do pretty well with saving time and being more efficient with what you're doing. If you have a one-man shop or something, it's not as bad. But when you scale up a little bit, it gets really bad with, where's the thermostat gun, or where's this part, or where's, a 5-in-1 screwdriver or whatever. And that, even if you're walking around for 2 minutes trying to find it, that's 2 minutes you could have had the back of the dryer off to fix it or whatever. And you do that enough times over a month with multiple people, you lose a lot of time. So being more organized would be another thing I think I would have told myself to do at the beginning. Other than those two things, I'd have to really think about it. What I would do differently. I mean, there's probably a lot of like small things. Don't buy this unit, buy this one instead. Having better contacts with people, having, and I wish I could have told myself, these are like 5 things you check on your appliances before you buy it. You check for that spider bracket, you check for the bearing on a top load BMW pause play units, or if you're using a direct drive, you're looking at the O-ring and seals underneath to make sure that they haven't started leaking yet. All of the things you look for on a unit before you buy it, because I mean, if you get burnt, you lose a little bit of money.
Oh yeah. Yeah, direct drives, I find, I don't know, you probably find this too, the seals tend to go out because of the skids going out. So whenever I notice that skids have gone out on a direct drive, a lot of times they'll also be the same washers that are starting to leak. And it's obviously because the shaft is shaking and it's just wearing out a hole in that thing. But skids are one of those things too. For a long time, I didn't realize, when you start off, you don't realize a whole lot of things. But, oh man, you put new skids, they're so cheap on a direct drive, and it's just like a brand new machine. It's just no noise to it. It spins perfectly. The part's like $5. Yeah, direct drives. As far as what do you have at your house? What's your personal washer and dryer?
My house is actually so small, I don't have anything. We have to do laundry at her mom's house. But I usually have like a Kenmore set, like a Whirlpool built Kenmore set somewhere in the back. I'm like, if we ever move, this is what I'm using, and I'm going to rebuild the entire thing, including the gear case, so we'll get 30 years out of it. So that's probably what I will be using at some point.
I had a direct drive forever, and then I don't know if you saw my video on repairing the suspension rods, and I did a fix. The suspension rods, it's that little piece of plastic or it's like a rubber thing that holds on, and I redid it with liquid nails. And so far we're getting up, I think we're about like month 4 or 5, and the washer's still working perfect with replacing that area with liquid nails instead. The only big issue that I find with that is how long it takes for liquid nails to dry, because you can't push the cap back together or it won't dry. So you have to leave it separated, put liquid nails on one side, put it on the other side, and squeeze it together after it dries, which takes about 3 days. So
Oh
it's
my
not
gosh.
really a great solution, but it is a solution. So far, if it gets up to a year, I'm going to go ahead and call it, and I'm going to swap back and finally not have a pulse play machine sitting in my house. But so far, so good with that solution. Yeah, but that's one of the weirdest ones. The pulse play machines, why they went with that suspension system, I really don't understand. It's like they timed how long suspension rods could last, and it's always like right past what Lowe's warranty is, and they're just not designed to last. There's no way.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just high how they built high efficiency machines across the board. Because and I don't know how many other brands you deal with, but when you get into like your Samsungs and your LGs and really even your GEs, it's like it's the same cheap Chinese factory that's building all the struts. I mean, you can take a Whirlpool set. And I've done this once to take a Whirlpool set of suspension rods and put them in like a Samsung, and they're fine. And most of the techs on like Appliance Pro Talk will say straight up, if you have a Samsung machine that needs suspension rods, go get the LG part number for the springs, and they last a whole lot longer. And I feel like they're made all about the same standard. Maybe there's one grade that's a little bit better and one that's worse, but it's kind of like economies of scale, but they're really, really cheap. I blame high efficiency standards that they put in place to where all the machines have to be a certain way. And I guess that's the way they figured out to make machines spin faster and take shock absorption, but it's a really stupid method.
Yeah, yeah, that absolutely will work. I've taken suspension rods that were too long, so the motor would be dragging the ground. I put them in a vise and re-bent them in the right spots and stuck them in the machine before. Guess what? Works just the same. It's all the same. It's just that same little piece of foam that's dragging, creating a little bit of time delay on the machine, on balancing the drum. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a horrible, just what you said. It's just a horrible method compared to. I mean, it's weird we're going backwards when we have direct drive machines that we can just go, oh, this idea works and it works forever, and then we moved on, and then maybe they're spinning so hard that wouldn't work anymore. But I don't know. It doesn't seem that much harder.
Yeah, so here's the deal is I don't know if you ever get any of the in-between machines from like Whirlpool or Maytag, or I haven't seen any GEs, but there's a few what I'd call in-between units that use like a hodgepodge of direct drive and BMW parts. It's called a Whirlpool Calypso or a Whirlpool Catalyst washer. They have a digital top to them that's push button, but it's like old school to where it's like physical relay buttons you can mash. And if you get one of those, they're like the most notorious machine ever built because of how bad they are and how unreliable they are. But they use wash plates, but they're 15, 18 years old. And the wash plates are kind of weird on them. Maytag built one in the Neptune, and that's literally why they went bankrupt, as they all failed. But the Calypso units use a direct drive motor on them, but they use struts. They use like high efficiency front load washer struts, and they're junk. But you can see like half the things that made it to the BMW and the half from the direct drive system that kind of just won't work. And that unit was just really, really bad. So I guess they thought, oh, we're going to do a clean slate.
Yeah, probably. It's crazy how much of it is just getting around Whirlpool patents. That's the same thing with like why GE is so different, why Samsung's so different compared to others, is they're just trying to get around. Whirlpool owns everything and they have all the patents, so everyone's working their way around things.
Which saying that's really funny because again, if you tear enough machines apart, you start seeing how they got around it. Because like if you really get into Samsungs, you start looking at Samsungs, you're like, why'd they build them this way? Because like a lot of the Samsungs have the same design theory as a Maytag, and the whole deal with that is back when Maytag was going bankrupt, they partnered with Samsung on a lot of stuff to where if you go get a few certain Maytag washers and you take them off and you look at the boards on them, they're Samsung washer boards. And they look very similar to a modern Samsung, but they're Maytag brand. And you're thinking, what in the world did you guys do? And then you get to the Samsung dryer or whatever, and you're like, that heater can's a Maytag. And the new ones, even the new Samsung heater cans, anything within the past like 8 years, you can go out there, take the can apart. It splits apart like a Cabrio does, and it's a Whirlpool element. You can buy on Amazon a Whirlpool element and slap it into Samsung, and it's half the price. And it works great because somehow something happened with the patent on that. But yeah, Whirlpool has all these patents, so everyone had to kind of figure out a different, possibly works way to do it.
Yeah, true. It's pretty much what it is. Let's move on to what do you do with all that washer and dryer money? What kind of investing, or what's your goals? Where are you going with this?
Other than, mainly it's feeding my family. I do well with my washers and dryers, but the other business stuff I'm involved in costs more than it should. So I have to use my washer dryer money to pay for the other business ventures that aren't going quite as well. But I do some investing, Webull, M1 Finance, stuff like that, a little bit of cryptocurrencies. So I do a little bit of investing with it. And I spend a lot to like add product to my store. Like, let's see if I can get this in the shop real quick. But if you go over against the back walls and stuff, I have other products in the back. I've been doing some like pallet sales in the back to where I have like brand new product from Home Depot and Lowe's and stuff. So I'm investing in those types of products too, where I'll buy like a truckload of things and then bring it in, and it complements the washer, dryer, stove, fridge stuff. Margins on that are pretty good, but you can't do that with one person. You have to have a staff of people, because if you're getting like 26 pallets, it's a lot of work. But the margins are good, and it does complement things, because people come in and they'll ask, I need a dishwasher or a heater or an air conditioner or something with it. So it kind of complements it. And I don't have to put a lot of work into that kind of stuff other than just testing it. And if it doesn't test, I just kind of throw it away, because I did do pallet stuff actually before washers and dryers.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, there's a couple of those places around me that buy pallets of stuff, and they'll go through them and resell them. I don't know if y'all have them where you are, but Hudson's Building Supply has those, and there's a bunch of the Hudson's around here that kind of break apart the pallets, and you have to test it before you leave the store, or there's no returns kind of a store. But it's kind of cool. Just know you always have to test before you leave the store, and it's a neat store.
Yeah, and I do a lot of appliances with Home Depot, so like I'll get a few things that are things that I can deal with my shop. Like I'll get washer dryer pedestals. Sometimes I'll get like fully intact items. Like my last load, I got like a really nice $1,000 Bosch dishwasher, and it worked. And I had it sold within 2 days for like $800, and I may have had 100. So that was kind of cool. I wish I could get into more of that and get like the legit customer return new items. And I know where those contracts are, but they're really expensive now because of COVID. But if you have like $10,000 or $20,000, you can invest in a tractor trailer of brand new or almost brand new washers, dryers, stoves, and fridges. And the money in that's amazing because not a lot of people can invest in it. But if you can, the returns are awesome, and you can use all the washer and dryer experience from the smaller machines to work on the big stuff and maybe eventually make some more money. So it's a process.
Yeah, there's a lady around me that she buys trailer loads of washers and dryers and refrigerators from a place that I guess they're kind of, I don't know where they get them all from. I'm guessing it's probably Lowe's and Home Depot, what the guys are actually supposed to do with it. But the same kind of thing. You get what you get. You don't know what's wrong with them. It's just you get them by the just 18-wheeler load pretty much. And she, like, I'm not talking nasty old machines. Some of the machines are just returns from the store, stuff that you see at Lowe's that they'll stick back out. You'll see those occasionally,